All right, good morning, everyone, and welcome to IGTV. This is Anthony Hackett from the Aimetis Group. All right, and Aimetis is all about video analytics. And Anthony, welcome on to the program today. We certainly do appreciate you taking the time. And you're on live, so go ahead.
Okay, great. Well, we're on the second part of discussion that we have, basically best practices using video analytics. Last week we talked about vendor partnering, assembling a team, organizing, setting who's accountable for what actions, weekly phone calls, understanding the requirements, writing down those requirements, making sure that everyone understands what the requirements are. So now we segue into the second part, which is site assessments, performance expectations, system design, scope, and support. So when we talk about site assessment and performance expectations, obviously it's very cut and dry. What do we want to achieve? What is success? Are there any barriers to achieving this? Number one. And this could be something as simple as maybe a banner that hangs from the ceiling in a store that could obscure the camera, for example. Discuss what's possible and what's not possible, and what can be acceptable. You might want to think about maybe outdoor rail situation. That's what I think about when I think about what's acceptable, what's not acceptable. Certainly people want 100% accuracy all the time. The reality is that there are going to be some occasions where, for whatever reason, the system may be 98, 99% accurate.
Hey, you know,
Some people. Yeah.
Anthony, one of the things that I think of during this is it's Christmas time, so you know they've got those giant snowflakes that they hang, you know, from the ceilings of the stores, and how you know the overzealous elves in all these different stores, and there's some very well-intentioned people, you know, how they start hanging all this stuff up with little regard to the security of the place that they're going to. So as we saw in the FBI CCTV best video, you know, I think it was a back to school ad that kind of obscured,
That's right.
everything. So, you know, during the Christmas and holiday season here, and certainly the New Year, you know, everybody, you know, celebrating Happy New Year, I could just see those signs popping up all over the place, and all of a sudden what were well-placed cameras now have, you know, a minefield to work through in order to deliver what your, you know, your expectations are.
Yeah, it's true not only in retail but also in municipalities that hang things from light poles, let's say flags or snowflakes, even lighted objects or items that could be used from a utility pole could hinder somebody's view. I would always revert back to your CCTV best practices video, because a lot of this is really just best practices in surveillance, from knowing where to locate a camera. Obviously, the communications that are handed down from a department to department need to communicate clearly that you need to be careful about what you hang up, because it could be blocking something that could be critical at some point in time. It's just an unfortunate case, but it's the way that it's the world that we live in today. It can't, you know, there can be decorations. There's, you know, I'm not trying to play Scrooge here at Christmas time. There's other ways to do this. One effective way that I think, whether it's a retailer or anybody else can do, is effective, like window tint or window screens that allow people to see outside or inside, but yet communicate some type of message, but also quite effectively block out sunlight. Which is one of those factors that will hinder any performance of any video surveillance system. So there are some creative ways to get around things and still sort of broadcast a nice spirited message during these times. But those are quick things to think about with regard to barriers. Another thing to think about too is when you're installing these cameras. Maybe you're doing it at night. Like in a lot of jobs, you have to go in at night when there's nobody around, and It allows for better performance from the integration team. But what is that image going to look like during the day or during the summertime or during the fall time or certain parts of the day? Those are things to consider. Again, they're basic CCTV best practices that you guys bring up really well in your video. But when we talk about performance specifically and what level is acceptable, the folks in the analytics world take a lot of pride in what they do, and their technology is very sophisticated, but it doesn't mean it's a silver bullet. It may not be 100% accurate all the time. And this is where you get people into a huff sometimes because they're anxious to deploy this. They want to be successful, but yet if there's one negative false alarm, then it's all no good. Well, I would challenge that, and I would go up against any, say, antivirus software that somebody might have deployed on their network that maybe at best only operates at 86% effectiveness, but you still deploy antivirus software.
Yeah, I think some might even argue that percentage.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
And so, the analytics is just another layer of technology that's used to, achieve whatever results the end user is looking to desire. But it's important to clearly articulate what levels of accuracy, given the deployment, is going to be acceptable to the customer. No doubt about it. So then we go into the system design and support. So you're talking about, how many stores or how many locations are you going to have? Are they all cookie cutter? Are they going to have all unique requirements? Those are things to keep in mind in planning, because even at best when you have cookie cutter rollout, there's going to be issues that pop up from territory to territory. And if your buildings are not all the same, then it's reasonable to expect that you're going to have to put more planning into the deployments as they unfold. Another thing, is the technology that you're using proprietary? What does that mean? Is the solution commercial off-the-shelf equipment? In other words, does it work on Dell or HP, IBM, or Intel-branded machines? And what does the support structure look like that? Who's going to support the equipment when it fails? And inevitably, at some point in time, someone's going to have a hard drive fail and it's going to need to be replaced. And who's going to do that? If it's a proprietary system, you may have to send the system back to a manufacturer or use their specially formatted hard drives. It's a commercial off-the-shelf system. Well, then obviously anybody can change a hard drive these days. And who's going to do that, though? Understanding all this and putting together a rollout plan is really how you gain efficiency in the deployment, make it predictable for the integrator, and obviously pleasant to the end user.
Right. We did get we have a chat going on here where Bob mentions, does any law enforcement agency offer a review of CCTV setups? Like here in New York, the FDNY offers a review for free fire risk analysis. So I'm not aware of any program where a law enforcement agency would come in, but I know NYPD does have a very active crime prevention division. So if someone was interested in having law enforcement come down, certainly the crime prevention division would do that. Obviously, we here at InfraGuard, through an appointment, we could certainly come down and review what your setup was as well. And that would be, sort of a non-vendor, biased or prejudiced kind of view that we would offer.
Well, yeah, you don't want to pretend to be experts in the actual service or software that's being used.
No.
But I would advocate that everybody, whether in small town USA or in a big city, contact their local law enforcement, invite them out to show them the building, making them familiar with the building, and more importantly, behind the building, or just getting them familiar, introduce themselves to law enforcement, let them know who they are as the owner, let them know that they have cameras, because a crime could occur around the block, and those cameras could be important at some point in time, and you always want to have open dialogue with law enforcement. And if they have, I'm thinking about smaller town USA in this case,
Sure.
If they had the best practices video, all they have to do is watch it, and they would understand to a certain degree, whether or not a camera, angled out at the sun is a good thing or not. Everyone knows that's not a good thing, but to a business owner, they may not understand that. They just want to secure their business.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. And so much of this has to do with, do people have the time to really, they may want to deploy a system like that. So they get a guy, maybe who isn't thinking that much, and he comes in, he does the installation, but things change over time. Products get put on shelves, get put up in certain areas, get taken down in others. For the retail guy, things are constantly moving because he's trying to change his stock around according to what may sell. It may even be seasonal. All right. But, just as we were talking about that, and the people are listening to this, all right, you do have NYPD's Crime Prevention Division that'll come out. You also have your protective security advisors from DHS. They'll come in and they do free security risk assessments. Part of that will be your CCTV program. So there's two public agencies that can kind of answer that question. But Anthony, go ahead. I'm not looking to eat into your time here.
No. Well, all good points, no doubt about it. When you think about the day-to-day operations that a business owner has, he's got a lot of things on his mind, and the last thing that he wants to do is be burdened with, having to think about how his cameras are placed and did he buy the right technology. I would divert back to the integrator market in that case. They need to have a good partner, and that partner needs to be someone that's established, has done this before, but most importantly, they shake somebody's hand, and that's the person that they're going to do business with, and they know and trust, and they should expect some type of level of service agreement with that integrator. And the integrator should advise them on, in a lot of cases, they're going to be the best advisor that they run into because they want to secure their business. The integrator's out securing everyone else's business in town. They've seen a lot of things. Obviously, the more experienced guys know how to solve certain solutions or protect the business to a better degree than, say, the less experienced people out there. And there's a lot of people that are just getting into this business now, and not to take away from that, but there's something to be said about being trained, whether it's through the ASIS program or other programs. Make sure that the person has the right qualifications to install the equipment.
Right. Making sure that they have the proper industry designations is helpful as all. The proper industry certifications and things of that nature. That doesn't hurt. All right, Anthony. Anything else? I mean, this is I just wanted to anything else for today's portion? Are you good?
Well, we went through and we talked about best practices in deploying this, and really it comes down to is we just decided here the integrator. And having a business owner that is interested in securing the business. Beyond that, having a relationship is probably second important, and that falls down to the integrator level. And we'll just leave it at that, I guess, for this week.
All right, that sounds good. So we have Anthony Hackett on the line with us, and Anthony is from Aimetis, and Aimetis has been good enough to loan Anthony out to us each and every week so we can do these videos and hopefully get everybody a little bit more spun up on CCTV, and certainly honed in on after you look at the cameras, what's next. And it's the video analytics, all right? And there are challenges to all of this, all right? And we review some of that in the FBI Best Practices CCTV video. And it's kind of nice that we have the FBI looking at it from the investigative point of view. We've got Anthony coming in here, introducing some of the challenges, for video analytics and, his discussion on that technology. And of course, we had Access Communications coming in prior to this and discussing the other side of the world, which is the cameras. All right, Anthony, thank you very much. Happy holidays to you and to everybody at Aimetis. I'm sure we'll hear from you next week. Take care now. Right. Okay, so